Video games used to be very simple. We had fighting games with incredible gore, Italian plumbers who hopped their way to victory, and even had fun with two rectangles and a square. But as video game technology became more advanced, so too did the visions of programmers, artists, and publishers. Now, video games are not just purely action or puzzle games, but are classified into much more diverse genres with other intentions, such as for education or to share a cultural experience. Enter Never Alone, a game developed by Upper One Games and published by Inline Media in 2014. The game is a groundbreaking entry into the world games genre, which seeks to introduce the world to captivating, rich games that draw on unique cultures. Never Alone tells the story of a young girl named Nuna of the native Alaskan Inŋitchuŋa tribe, whose community is inundated by a constant blizzard which prevents them from being able to hunt or go outside. Resilient, Nuna goes on a quest to try and uncover the source of the torrential weather on her own. Throughout her journey, the player experiences the culture of Alaskan Native people firsthand through gameplay and the short documentary videos unlocked during the game. What puts Never Alone, also subtitled Kisima, Inŋitchuŋa in the Inupiat language, into a tier of its own is not only the rich story of Nuna's journey to end the torrential blizzard affecting her tribe, but how this game came to be in the first place. The origins of Never Alone began with the Cook Inlet Tribal Council, who are headquartered in Anchorage, Alaska. The CITC is a non-profit organization whose mission is to support the Alaskan Native and American Indian people in the Cook Inlet region of South Central Alaska by offering assistance with things like education, family support, addiction recovery, and plenty of other services to strengthen their community. Gloria O'Neill, the CEO of the CITC, sought to generate additional sources of income that would positively impact the organization and increase their revenue to allow the CITC to be more self-sufficient. The CITC wanted to piece together the amazing stories and culture of the Alaskan Native people through technology and media, and decided that the power of video games would be the perfect option. O'Neill and her colleagues knew that their stories should be handled with care in this new medium, so they were careful about who they would partner with for this endeavor. In 2012, O'Neill contacted Alan Gershenfeld, who is the co-founder and CEO of Inline Media, an educational games publisher formed by longtime Activision staff members. Alan chaired the Games for Change organization before joining Inline Media, and was someone who could understand the value of a game like Never Alone. After a meeting on a cold Alaskan morning in early January 2013, the CITC and Inline Media discovered that they had aligned goals and determined that there was a market of consumers who would be interested in buying a video game of high quality with unique perspectives on Alaskan Native culture. Eventually, after learning more and with support from Inline Media, the CITC founded Upper One Games, which is the first ever indigenous-owned game company in the US. Now, the real challenge began, actually making the game. Upper One Games worked closely alongside the Alaskan Native community, who would provide invaluable input and involvement in the game's creation for everything from design to development and even things like marketing. The result is a genuine game which artfully represents a famous tale conceived by the great Alaskan Native storyteller Robert Nazareth Cleveland, and includes several mini documentaries to add more context to the significance of the gameplay. In November 2014, Never Alone was finally published for PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and then saw a wider release once ported to the Wii U, PS3, iOS, Android, and even the Switch. At the beginning of Never Alone, Nuna bravely sets out on her mission to stop the torrential blizzard and is immediately ambushed by a polar bear. Luckily, she's saved by a brave Arctic fox who distracts the polar bear and escapes with Nuna. Instantly, the bond between the fox and Nuna is apparent. Miss a jump and fall into the icy depths as Nuna, the fox will lay down defeated and cry. Get taken away by a northern light spirit as the fox, Nuna lets out a cry of agony and collapses to the ground. The title of this game is Never Alone, but it hardly feels that way. Together, Nuna and the fox confront, run away from, and befriend various elements from Alaskan Native tribes, including a terrible man, mischievous little people, spirit guardians, and an ice giant. They're the story inspired by the late storyteller Robert Nazar Cleveland and narrated by James Mimigan Nagiak. The fact that this story is told skillfully through indigenous elders and supported by this long list of cultural ambassadors from the Inupiaq, Tlingit, Yupik, and Tagish communities adds to Never Alone's credibility and value. We're getting a true glimpse into a culture we rarely see and not someone else's interpretation of it. As Nuna and the fox overcome challenges and get closer to reaching their goal of ending the eternal blizzard, we are rewarded with short documentary videos highlighting the significance of game elements. The documentaries, like everything else with the game, are handled with great care and interview Inupiaq who are involved with the game or the community. These short videos along throughout the game make our decisions more significant and increases the motivation we have as a player to continue learning and unlocking more of the story. Additionally, as we learn more about gameplay elements such as the bola or Arctic fox friend and helpful spirit guardians, they go from being of only instrumental value for finishing the game to something that we emotionally bond with. We learn about how bola is used and then conquer ice caves with it. We learn about the personality of foxes and how they will always help someone get out of trouble. And we learn about the significance of spirit guides who are there to help us find our way through the wild. These things aren't just in the game to help us win, they're there because they're part of the story for thousands of Alaskan Native people, and the short documentaries help us realize that. What really brings everything to life is the art of Never Alone. The vivid imagery throughout Never Alone accomplishes two things. First, it inspires us to pay attention. Second, using visuals helps the player understand complex topics, such as the story from culture with unique characters and objects that most rarely see in their everyday lives. From an instructional standpoint, people learn better when information is presented as both audio and text or audio and pictures. We're able to comprehend the culture of the Inupiaq people based on their unique style of art and how they choose to depict the world around them. Additionally, it is stunning to look at everything in this game, particularly because not many people have seen the Alaskan wilderness other than through documentaries. The art style chosen to represent Never Alone allows us to understand the story more viscerally than if we were only listening to it or reading the story. One other thing that the beautiful art style of Never Alone accomplishes is sharing that this is a living, breathing culture, not something in a museum. People live these stories in this location every day along with the rest of the world. Finally, at the end of the game, Nuna and the fox confront a giant iceman who, through cutting ice off a mountain and shoveling it away, is the source of the eternal blizzard. Relying on the fox spirit, whose original life as a physical fox was taken by the terrible man earlier in the game, to help guide the spirit guardians, Nuna is able to raise up the ice giant, steal his ad stool, and duel it against a rock before returning it to him, ensuring that they would not create another blizzard. The villagers return and the fox spirit departs, only after reminding Nuna that they will always be there for her whenever she needs them. So, how much of an impact did Never Alone have on the industry? Well, edutainment games that try to combine education and entertainment, can usually be kind of cringy and forceful, but Never Alone never had these problems. Edutainment games usually start with the education component first and the entertainment component second, which is valuable in the classroom as part of a lesson, but not so much as a standalone video game title. With Never Alone, the story of the Alaskan Native people and the intention of it being represented as a video game with wide distribution was the first priority. The educational documentaries that are woven into the game are never mandatory to watch. The ability to learn about the Alaskan Native culture in Never Alone is entirely voluntary, but definitely rewarding. In recognition of the unique story, vision, and direction of this game, Never Alone won countless awards, including the British Academy Award for Best Debut Game and Game of the Year, as well as Most Significant Impact Awards from the Games for Change organization. In 2015, Never Alone was also nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Game Direction from DICE, Best Debut from Game Developers Choice Awards, and the Matthew Crump Cultural Innovation Award from South by Southwest Gaming Awards. Also, in 2014, Never Alone was an official selection finalist at Indiecade. Needless to say, Never Alone was something unique to the industry. But what about now? It has been 8 years since Neveralone introduced a new genre of video games and was the first major title developed by a specific people group aimed with educating the world about its culture. First of all, the developers are still adding content to this game. Their first DLC for Neveralone, Foxtails, which includes additional gameplay, stories, and short documentaries, was released a few months after the original game's release in July of 2015. And a few months ago, in February 2022, Upper One Games and Eli Media announced that a sequel to Neveralone was in development, further cementing the strong relationship between the two companies. Neveralone has also made its way into school district curriculums and art museums around the world. In many classrooms across Alaska, the game is assigned much like a book report, where students play the game, watch the documentaries, and bring their insights to class. Neveralone has been shown in museums, including the MoMA and the Smithsonian, as an example of interactive design and how video games can connect people together. But how has Neveralone influenced the video game community as a whole? While I could not find another game with the exact same vision and scope as Neveralone, Neveralone was published at a time when the value of representation in video games other than the constant, straight white young male was being understood and more diverse characters were woven into games. In terms of value as educational tools, some video game titles have generally improved by focusing on a rich history and culture as a major component of the gameplay or story, such as with titles in the Civilization or Assassin's Creed series, though this improvement probably has little to do with Neveralone. If anything, their critically acclaimed reception of Neveralone and its inclusion into museums and education programs around the world sends a clear and motivating message to creators within different people groups that there is a worldwide audience eager to learn more about them and their culture. Neveralone is a unique title with a special story and authentic vision that is hardly seen anywhere else. This game is a testament to the value of sharing the culture of a people group that we rarely interact with outside of television documentaries and news stories. It will be a treat to play the sequel to this game. Thanks for joining me for another dive into video games. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. Also, if you know of any games that are similar to Neveralone and share the unique culture of an ethnic group, please share the title in the comments below for myself and other viewers to enjoy. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Man, I went at it and look what happens. Oh.